Apparently, as a child, I wasn't told over and over again that directions are important and need to be followed. At least that's what my mother told me sarcastically the time I unknowingly gave myself bruises on my face. If you decide to do internet challenges, always, I repeat always, follow the directions, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to share an embarrassing story with you today that I hope will open your eyes to the importance of directions. Around 5 years ago, while staying in a hotel with my family, me and my sister decided that we were going to do the Kylie Jenner Lip Challenge. This is a challenge that entails you suctioning a shot glass to your face to make your lips larger. Now, we didn't have a shot glass, but you know what we did have? Plastic hotel cups, which are much larger in diameter, much different than a shot glass, and affect the outcome of this story greatly. Again, we didn't follow directions when we decided to suction them to our faces for about 1 to 2 minutes, when it safely recommends to suction them to your lips for about 15 to 30 seconds. But still, when we took them off, we didn't see any differences in the size of our lips. So we passed it off as, well, this didn't work, and we went on with our night. Around 11 o'clock, we went to the bathroom to get ready for bed. I turned on the lights, and I looked in the mirror, and on both of our faces were these dark, purple, horrendous bruises covering our chins. Obviously, these had come from the plastic hotel cups being placed over both our lips and our chins and only suctioning to the chin areas. Initially, we freaked out. I was completely embarrassed, too embarrassed to even wake my parents, who didn't end up finding out about it till the next day. So we went to bed. The next day, though, we had to go to my brother's doctor's appointment. So, being the unexperienced in makeup tweens that we were, decided to cover our faces in my mother's dark foundation. When I say we covered our faces, I mean we caked our faces in this foundation, and when I say our faces, I mean only the chin area. We looked terrible, to say the least, and we headed off to my brother's doctor's appointment. I can't even imagine what we must have looked like to these doctors and nurses working there that day. Probably horrendous, and by the time it was over, I was completely embarrassed. But we gotta go home. Still, the entire rest of the week, I went to social events and I hung out with my friends covered in this dark foundation. It was still caked on, it was still only on my chin area, and I still didn't know how to blend makeup. I looked terrible, I was embarrassed, but I thought it was better than going around with bruises, or what most people would consider them as hickeys, on my chin. Still to this day, my family will not let me live this down, and they're the reason I'm doing this for my narrative speech. So, as you can tell, my attempts at internet challenges didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked them to, but I hope you take into account to always read and follow instructions, even if you think you know what you're doing, or if you think the minuscule details won't affect the outcome, because they probably will. The next time you decide to do something that requires or comes with directions, follow them. And for the times that you don't, make sure it's not something that will force you to unprofessionally cake your face in foundation.